Greetings, my friends. I am back with another BLU review episode. The one I promised you a full formal review of Thriller, A Cruel Picture, Swedish film originally called Thriller on Grim Film. It sounds even more kind of depressing. In America, in the exploitation markets, it was known as They Call Her One Eye. So, just some basic information. This came out in 1973. Bo Arne Vibenius is the director. Also, and he directed this under the pseudonym Alex Fridolinski. Maybe that was for the American market. I don't know. I mean, it sounds kind of like he might be like a sleazy, guy. Fridolinski. Bo Arne is outside of making Thriller and another kind of extreme film called Breaking Point, which I have a copy of on DVD I got from rarelust.com in 2019. It's okay. It's not bad. Bo Arne was the second assistant director on Ingmar Bergman's Persona, which I only saw for the first time last year. It was incredible. I can tell how incredibly influential it is on later films, and I love the look of it. That black and white Sven Nykvist photography of that period of Bergman is just, it's incredible. And there's lots of scenes where it's like flooded with light, and you have this extreme kind of chiaroscuro contrast, and the two women almost kind of merging into each other. I meant to review it when I saw it on Tubi, and I never did. So that's my review. It's great. So anyway, Bo Arne did that, and he had done a movie that flopped. I don't know the name of it, and he decided he was going to make "quote unquote" the most commercial film ever made, and so hence Thriller, A Cruel Picture. And when he says commercial, I mean, I guess he means an exploitation film that's going to grab people and make a whole ton of money because of the exploitative elements. He did that. It's got a lot of violence, a lot of nudity, a lot of simulated rape and prostitution and drug use that looks very real. Heroin injections. We'll get to that in a sec. And on top of that, him and the producers had hardcore close-up inserts inserted during the scenes where Madeline is servicing her clients because she's forced into a life of prostitution. We'll get into the story in a second. So yeah, it was cut. It was 107 minutes. It was cut to 104, then 86, then 82 in Sweden, and that finally kept it from being banned. In the U.S., it was mainly screened at 82 minutes, which I guess that it was the They Call Her One Eye cut. I have never seen They Call Her One Eye cut. I probably should have watched it before I reviewed this, but it's But I'm looking forward to watching it. I mean, in a way, it's going to be weird and disjointed. It's included on DVD, not Blu-ray, as an extra in the case. I covered all this in my unboxing video a few episodes back. Yeah. So it's kind of like the knockoff version, the bolderized version. I never said that word right. But this is the full uncut real deal, the way that the Swedes intended it to be. Even though it didn't pass any of their censors boards. And some other weird trivia. Christina Lindbergh had a life insurance policy taken out on her during the movie because she had, in order for authenticity, they wanted to have fluid inside the syringe when they were injecting her, supposedly with heroin, and it was saline solution, and could have been dangerous or cause some kind of embolism or whatever with her blood vessels. And then she also handled guns with live ammunition. Pretty cutting edge, man. Years before Alec Baldwin, man. Talk about verisimilitude. But no one was killed on this show. No one was killed on the Thriller set, like Baldwin. I think he killed somebody, or someone was killed. Kind of like also the Brandon Lee tragedy. Yeah. So, uh, crazy man. Christina Lindbergh had done a bunch of erotic movies. I can't remember the names of most of them. Anita is one. I want to say she was in Joseph Sarno's Young Playthings, but I could be wrong. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are people who will tell me, "Why? How could you forget this?" My friend Robert Monell, he's a film genius. You probably would know Robert Monell, ladies and gentlemen. So, what's the movie about? Um, it's like a Swedish farm. It's very quiet, slow movie, in the in the beginning and even later parts, which adds to the kind of grim, solemn tone to it. It's very austere, and this little girl who's Madeline. She strays away from her parents, who are much old, very old. I don't know if they started uh, having a kid late in life or they adopted her or what, but um, she's picking up leaves. It's fall, and she's picking leaves off the ground. And this old man with a long gray beard and kind of weird looking, is playing with her. And the next thing you know, he's above her, and you see her point of view, and he's kind of slavering here with this black tar like substance coming out of his nostrils and mouth. And then he's acting as though he's climaxing, and I guess he is. So yeah, it's a sexual assault. The police quickly arrest him. He's obviously a total lunatic, and he tries to give one of the leaves to Madeline and her mother. Madeline's holding the traumatized kid, and the mother smacks the hell out of the guy in the face. He seems a little confused as to why she did that. Go figure. There's also these two ladies who work on the farm, and they're always like working, bottling the milk and stuff. And they're kind of like these gossips, and they kind of provide exposition during parts of the movie. They're kind of telling the audience, what the attack did to her and how sad it is and tragic and all this kind of stuff. What a sweet girl. So then you see her as a grown woman, Anita Lindbergh, and she's mute. That's her traumatized to the point where she can't talk, won't talk. And I think it's she can't talk, and that's kind of something influential, I think, on another classic rape revenge film, Abel Ferrara's Ms. 45, where the main character Thana, which means death, was a mute. So I think this is, I don't know about in the case of Thriller, probably so, but definitely in the case of Ms. 45, I think this is a metaphor for women being abused over the centuries and being told to keep quiet. This is the pre-Me Too era. This is definitely chauvinist, patriarchal, dominating, oppressive kind of shit themes. But yeah, so that silence is like a symbol. So yeah, she misses her bus and picked up by this sleazy guy. I think the back of this box says he's suave, and I laughed. I was like, suave? She thinks he's suave. His name's Tony, played by Heinz Hopp, who's the only other really actor of note named in the movie. He's kind of the antagonist. And he takes her off, and they have a date and some drinks, and she's totally kind of shy, but like enjoying the flattery. I don't think she's ever been with a man before. And he drugs her wine, and next thing you know, it's rough. Pretty soon, he's got her turned out. He hooks her on heroin, and he uses her as a prostitute for all kinds of sleazy people. Some of them rather wealthy, and some of them with rather peculiar tastes. And they basically demean and abuse her in all these simulated sex scenes. And that's where you have the uh, hardcore insert shots to make it look like they're really having sex, but the genitalia we see, dominating the screen, just pumping away, is not don't belong to Christina and the male actor or whoever at the time that she's in the scene with. So she's pretty broken, and Tony fakes this letter, or I think he makes her think her parents are dead. So she's pretty lost. She makes one friend there who's just totally desolate. It gives her the whole. She talks, of course. She gives her the whole rundown on this whole situation and what it's like, what it's been like, and how the heroin's basically the only thing you have to hope for. So Madeline, our main character, she's a junkie, and not by choice. But she begins making, she's popular. She begins making a pretty good amount of money. Tony loosens up some and starts giving her bigger percentages and a couple of days off a week to go into town. Meanwhile, Tony writes her parents a letter, supposedly from her, basically saying, "I hate your guts. I've left. You're terrible." And they're heartbroken and poison themselves to death. So when Madeline goes to town, she goes to see them and sees the pallbearers hoisting the two coffins. So this is kind of the final blow for her, the last straw. It's like, okay, enough's enough. So she formulates this plan. Again, no dialogue. We just watch it. It's very cinematic. It's just very slow and quiet. There's not much music on the soundtrack. Usually some weird electronic shit going on in the really intense scenes, which really fits perfectly. And so she begins, when she goes to her trips to town, she takes the money she's gradually saving up. And she takes courses in martial arts, and soon is like a master. And of course, she's got all this violent pent-up rage, so she's like beating the fuck out of this military guy who was teaching her judo, I think it was. And she learns how to drive a car and drive really fast and well. And she learns how to shoot pistols and rifles and shotguns. So wow. So the training sequences are they're not super realistic. I mean, they happen quicker than they really would. But basically, she's weaned herself off heroin too. Pretty strong-willed character by this time. She's completed the transformation into Frigga. I may have said this already. In the Swedish version, she's called Madeline. In the American, they call her One-Eye. She's called Frigga. Frigga's Odin's wife in Norse mythology. Odin wore an eye patch, so it's an homage. I think it's very cool. I always thought she was Madeline, and then when she became empowered with the all the skills and the eye patch and the duster gun, then she was Frigga. Transformation. That's just how I think of it, Mike. You can make up any old headcanon you want for it. So she basically begins hunting down a lot of the notable clients who abused her first. Here's where we start getting into the violence. She uses this shotgun, and she saws it off in real time. Christina Lindbergh on camera. She really is authentic. I mean, she was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to do." This is like Werner Herzog or something, and she's just blowing them away. And there are these outrageous squibs, and whenever they're shot and like falling around, it's in slow motion, but it's not your regular slow motion where it's just kind of slowed down frames per second. I don't know how many frames. I used to, I forgot, but they double it, so that it's twice as slow, half as fast, however you want to say it. So it's not like it's more like it's effective. Some people I've talked to don't like it, but I think it's incredible because that's when they usually use the weird electronic bleeps and squeaks and atonal concrete shit and music concrete. And she just blasts the fuck out of them. I mean, the men she just is merciless on, and there's a lesbian who was abusing her too. And those were some very sick scenes. You would think maybe the woman would go easier on her. Maybe there'd be some gentleness. Nah, not at all. And she just takes them out one after another until she finds Tony, and he's having dinner with a couple of the people. And she kills them, shoots at Tony, and starts chasing him. It goes on. She ends up at a warehouse where all these kind of thugs are there. I guess they're people hired by Tony. And again, she just dismantles them. A lot of them she beats, half to death or to death, maybe with her bare hands and her kung fu. And then the rest she just blows away. There's iconic shots of these guys tumbling into these huge rafts of boxes in this warehouse, and the squib just exploding into all this splatter of blood, and their expressions are just like agony. I love it. It's great. So finally she gets Tony. She tracks him down. She's a great driver. She chases his ass down, and she confronts him, and he gets a pistol out, and he thinks he's got the upper hand, and he's telling her to drop her weapon, her shotgun, and she does, and yeah. So he's about to blow her away, and of course he's talking shit to her and calling her every name in the fucking book, and she has a pistol. She's produced back here a very small hand pistol that she learned how to shoot earlier. And she shoots him in the leg, shoots him in the knee. I think in the knee, definitely in the leg. But he falls down. Of course, he's like, "Yeah, you bitch," whatever. And then she's like, she like rushes over to him, and you see it from his point of view, and she's just like, like, oh my god, like she can't control herself, and she just takes the pistol, and he's like moaning, and she shoots him squarely in the knee, and it's just again that's like slow motion. Then she does it again. That guy ain't never gonna walk again. Well, you'll see. And so losing blood and hobbling and in shock. He's very much in shock. He's doing this shit, and she ties him up with this big rope, and then she buries him up to the head and takes the rope, passes it securely around his neck, and ties the other into a horse. And then gets the horse to gallop off in the head. Woo, Man, that's like H.G. Lewis kind of level stuff there. So I'm giving away the whole movie, but my channel is heavy spoilers. Spoiler City. So Dan, what an experience. Boy, I'm getting excited just talking about this. I mean, I'm going to throw in that they call her one-eye cut, though. Maybe even. I love this movie. Frigga is a iconic character in exploitation films, and Quentin Tarantino kind of copied her basic visual motif with this character Ellie Driver, played by Daryl Hannah, Kill Bill Volume 1. But I mean, they don't really look alike. I mean, Daryl Hannah has a long coat and a gun and a patch, but she's blonde and she talks, and she really talks too much. And, just like the Oren Ishii character or whatever that played by Lucy Liu is at first glance an homage to Lady Snowblood, but really isn't like Lady Snowblood. I have a lot of problems with that movie. These are some of the kind of minor problems I have with it. But that got people curious because, in interviews you find out that Tarantino asked Daryl Hannah to watch Thriller Full Picture to prepare for this character. I don't know why, but that gave the film some clout, and Synapse put out the DVD. So like a whole new generation of fans and in different countries are like, finally seeing it, I don't know, as it was intended to be seen in all its brutal glory. And yeah, it's a cult classic, man. It really is. I mean, I don't know. It's just the mood is very kind of somber and deliberate. It just, I don't know. It sucks you in. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't let you go. But you have to go along with it because, like I said, it is slow, but deliberately so. I mean, it's not all slow, but when the action happens, it's kind of fast. But then the actual shots, they're slow. So I admire its risk taking and just the singular nature of it, and the, like I said, the iconic glory of the main character. It's just, her image is immortal in cult cinema, and rightfully so. I wanted to say that years later, I think around maybe the early '90s, another director's name I don't recall did a film called Sex, Lies, and Video Vault, which is Sex, Lies, and Video Violence. Obviously, riff on Sex, Lies, and Violence, or Sex, Lies, and Videotape by Steven Soderbergh with James Spader. So Sex, Lies, and Video Vault is actually a crossover movie. It's like a bunch of different characters. It's Swedish, and so Frigga is back, and she's one of the main characters. But it crosses over with a ton of other characters. I've kind of forgotten what all of them are, who all of them are. He takes it to extreme levels, though, to where like there's nods to Alien and RoboCop and a lot of stuff that would not fit into a contemporary Swedish milieu in the early '90s. Some of these other characters you could kind of figure out how to fit into their timeline, but that kind of stuff is best left to the current guru of crossover, Sean Lee Levin, and I recommended Sex, Lies, and Video Vault for when Scott Eckert, when he did the original crossovers books, but there really wasn't enough info on it. But I did finally find out all the crossovers. I don't think it made it into Sean's crossover book, but maybe in the future, who knows. I want to see it. It's hard to track down. So the picture's great. It's grainy, gritty. It's low budget, but I mean, it's I don't know if it's 16 millimeter, but I'm pretty sure it is. Colors are great, really crisp, and is very evocative of that time and that country and that vibe. So I just want to say, if you haven't seen this movie, you're a cult movie fan. If you like horror, if you like action, if you like the rape revenge subgenre, if you like strong, tough, badass women, you fucking need to see this movie, man. Get on it. So, love you guys. This is a pretty short review, but I did part of the heavy lifting on the unboxing video. So, as promised, I wanted to deliver this. Ere this night doth wane. Coming up, I don't have an exact itinerary for Blue Review, but I am going to continue the Extreme and Forgotten series with more DVDs of films that inexplicably haven't showed up on Blu-ray that are in some way or another weird or strange or extreme or taboo. Medium Drugstore Cowboy, it was kind of taboo, really, if you think about it. I'm going to there's a couple of streaming films I'd like to talk about. A couple that are really outside of my normal purview. But I think that's what makes them perfect to be talked about. I don't know if any of you recall when I reviewed Diary of a Mad Housewife and Puzzle of a Downfall Child, that I got the Blu-rays from Kino Lorber Studio Classics. I traded with a guy on eBay. I love those movies, but they were kind of a different mode, I guess, of a lot of stuff I discussed, But I have a very, very, very wide palette. So there's two I found that I think would be an interesting comparison contrast. I'm going to study them in the next few days and see if I think I can make an episode work. Yep. So if you guys have any suggestions for episodes and it's something that I'm able to see that I'm going to do it. Probably the next theatrical film that I'll cover whenever it comes out is the Batman. Didn't get around to Licorice Pizza. I'm broke. I need money badly. So if you want to give to the channel, please PayPal me if you want to donate. I have a fundraiser. Help me pay my property tax and survive. And the link for that is down below. I may do a video about it when I was kind of in dire straits last year. But this property tax thing kicks my ass every year, really. It's hard to save for, and they kind of want the payment all at once. And the single biggest payment I have to, by far, by many times over, that I have to pay in a given year. It's very large, but much smaller than the property tax I paid back on Selwyn Avenue, which was a rich neighborhood. My dad should have never moved there. He couldn't afford it. It took him years to pay off the house. We were always the poor kids on the block. No one liked us. They were stuck up. But to my benefit, when he passed, he left it to me, and all these, people wanted to purchase it because the property value was very high. So I was able to sell it, buy this townhouse with cash, and have money left over. Which eventually I ran out of. But that's okay. Yeah. So, but nowadays it's not okay. I'm really broke. eBay's dying. eBay links down here too. If you want to order from eBay, I've been working relentlessly for 3 days on eBay that I've been off at my day job, and then I worked my day job today. My hands are killing me. I had to take off my braces and just let them breathe. Agony. So I'm gonna go dope up and have dinner, and that's my review, man. I'm gonna try to have a very special review for episode number 100, but I have no clue what it's gonna be. So take care. Love you guys, and rock on.